Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Entitled Parents Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe, and help me get to my goal of 10,000 subscribers. In our first story, an entitled coworker has the power over air conditioning, and absolute power corrupts. Let's jump right in. For the last months, I have been working as an intern in the Human Resources Department of a middle-sized company, and while it has been mostly an uneventful job, there have been some really peculiar moments. Most people up north may be suffering from a white Christmas, but down here in the equator, we are melting from the heat. And in a highly humid town like the one I live in, it feels like the Amazon rainforest. Well, maybe that's because we are actually in the border of the Amazon rainforest. This would make you think any building will have their air conditioning units working full-time on full power, no? Well, not if Mr. Jeremy Johnson, our protagonist, could prevent it. Every day, Jeremy was the first to get in the building, enter the office he shared with 5 other guys, and set the thermostat to a not-so-refreshing 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. The device was at his workstation, so he basically had full control over it. When any of his coworkers complained about it still being really hot, he would set it to 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes and then return it to his loved 25 degrees. If they changed it themselves, he would set it back once they returned to their desks. As childish as this may sound, this game lasted for about a month till a human resources representative, your sweet narrator here, had to intervene because this was getting out of hand. Formal complaints were done and the screaming matches were getting worse and worse, with people in other departments commenting on the issue. So, normal first step. I interview the 5 guys and they describe the problem I just told you about. Cue to the funny part, my interview with Jeremy. I will try to recreate it the best I can, although I may be a little biased. Hey Mr. Jeremy, I am Latina Cinderella from HR. How are you? Fine. So let's cut to the chase about the thermostat. What about it? I described the complaints against him. Having said this, we need to find a solution. A solution for what? The only problem here is that these peladitos, little kids is a safe idiom, but here it was used rudely, can't handle a little bit of heat. A detail I forgot to include is that while Jeremy is in his early 40s, his coworkers are in between 24 and 30. Yeah, but that's the reason we have the air conditioning, sir, so that workers can be as comfortable as they can. It's expensive. Our energy budget is able to cover it. That's nothing you should worry about. In case we need to make cuts, we'll let you know. Well, I can't handle the code. It triggers my allergy. Maybe we can arrange a place change so that you're not so close to the air vent, and I don't know, maybe you can bring a thin sweater so that you don't get too cold. I don't like sweaters. I am fine with the way I have the thermostat. Why should I change it? Because you are not alone in your office, Mr. Jeremy, and we can't let this fight affect your work environment. I really don't get all this drama. I keep the same temperature at home and none of my kids complain or are allowed to change it. It should be the same here. I think at this point my face just made the most what the flip expression imaginable because I could not believe the argument he had just made. Sorry? Mister, this is not your house, this is your workplace, and those are not your children, but your adult coworkers. Then they should act like it. Okay, that's all I needed to hear. We will tell you what measures would be taken. Have a good afternoon. So after that weird conversation, I talked to my supervisor, and in the end, it was decided that Mr. Jeremy had 2 options. Change places in the office and leave the thermostat in the hands of the other guys, meaning he needed to deal with the cold. Moving to our backup office, basically an adapted supply closet, normally used for extranumerary personnel we sometimes hired, also used occasionally as a file warehouse, and whose only ventilation was a small fan. No windows. Surprisingly enough, Mr. Jeremy chose the first option, and while he is constantly nagging about his cold feet, at least they are not fighting to the death anymore. In story 2, an entitled mother demands to know how much of a raise I got. This colleague of mine, let's just call her Karen to keep it simple, is 20 years older than me and has 2 kids. We pretty much started at the same time at our current workplace, a government office in Eastern Europe. I only started a few months before her. But because of the kind of field I've been working in, I had some special knowledge at the time, and just after a few months, I've had to teach some new colleagues, including Karen. Everyone who I taught became independent after a while. Everyone but Karen. She was always dealing with her family during working hours, talking on her phone with school teachers, her mother-in-law, her mother, her kids, her husband, her sisters, pediatricians, sometimes pharmacists, and so on, depending on the issue currently on hand. Most of the time, she called her kids for banal things. Start the washing machine, open the window in your room, eat, drink, take your medicine, do your homework, etc. The oldest of her kids is 13 years old, by the way. "My family and my children are more important than this," she used to say, referring to our job. The point is that she was on her phone a lot, and because of this she worked very slowly and made many mistakes and had a hard time seeing through big projects. She hadn't even really paid any attention, I think, because she knew I would always help her, and I did because she was my partner. We work in pairs in this workplace. Because of her attitude, our immediate boss always handed me the harder, more complicated jobs with greater responsibility. Many times I was forced to work overtime. When work accumulated, Karen always said, "I can't stay, I have 2 kids," and left. Always. Not once would she stay and help. This year around spring, there was an amendment of the law which made it possible that age does not determine the level of salary, but rather abilities and skills. This is a big change. Basically, it lets our immediate bosses decide our salary and paid leave days based on our abilities and skills, and not based on age and number of children, which was the previous standard. So when the amendment came into force, our boss summoned all of us one by one and told everyone in private how the person's salary and leave days would change and why. We have been told that this information is private and it is forbidden to share and discuss this between colleagues. So my boss told me that he knows I work very hard and much more than my older partner. He said I deserve her salary, but unfortunately he can't raise my salary that much due to the budget. So he gave me a 50% raise and 5 more paid leave days. I was unspeakably happy. That was way more than I expected. I went back to my office and continued my work. Karen was the last one summoned in. I saw that she was already sitting on needles. When she came back, she was fuming. "That's it. I'm gonna find a new job," she said. "Why? What's happened?" I asked. "I haven't got any raise, and my paid leave days will decrease. They can't take away my leave days. I have 2 children." The truth is that basic leave days could drop due to a leadership decision, but mothers still got extra days off per child. I tried to stop her. "Karen, we really should not discuss this. We were told it is forbidden to share." She stormed out of our office. After half an hour, she returned, still angry. Susan, our other colleague who has 2 kids, also got her days decreased. Her basic salary is now lower than Janet, also a colleague who has no kids. I tried to reason with her. Susan works only 6 hours a day, and Janet takes all the big projects. But Janet has no children, no family. Why would she get more days? I bet she got a raise too. Karen, that's the point. Abilities and skills matter more than the number of children from now on. Besides, we're not allowed to discuss this matter. If you're unhappy with the decisions, then you should talk to our boss. They don't appreciate me. You have no children either. How big a raise did you get? None of your business, Karen. I kept my cool, and maybe that's what pissed her off the most. She immediately went to our boss to demand that he let her change her seat because she doesn't want to sit and work next to me anymore. Sadly, he didn't allow it. Karen still sits and sometimes works next to me. I get some satisfaction that our salaries are now closer to each other. This is John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.